Hello, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase, and I'm here with a very important message. We are at a turning point in the Black community where we must have equity in the apps we use that scale to billions of dollars. But this time, we own the infrastructure, we own the culture, and we shape the future. And Fanbase is the future. Fanbase combines the free functionality of Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube into an all-in-one platform built for the evolution of social media and monetization. With over 1.4 million users, that's real proof that we are shifting the conversation of tech ownership and equity for creators. So right now, I want you to go to startengine.com/fanbase and invest today. The minimum to invest is $399. That gets you 60 shares of stock in Fanbase at $665 a share. This marks a turning point in Black ownership of social media. If we don't take this opportunity to own social media right now, we will always be customers to our own creations. And that can't go on. So once again, go to startengine.com/fanbase and invest today. We must own the platforms where our voices live, our stories matter, and where our culture drives the world. Thank you.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Hold no punches.
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
Hey, folks, today is Thursday, October 9, 2025. Coming up on Roland Martin Unfiltered, streaming live to the Black Star Network. Donald Trump got his wish. The U.S. Attorney has indicted New York State Attorney General Letitia James. We'll show you her reaction. Also, 9th day of the government shutdown. We'll be joined by Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz talk about Democrats standing firm in the face of Donald Trump's threats. Also, LaTosha Brown, co-founder of Black Lives Matter, says that the Voting Rights Act could be under massive siege if the Supreme Court case goes against African Americans. It's a lot we're going to break down, including a young black man who spoke out against gun violence at the Forbes recent summit. He was escorted off the stage. It's time to bring the funk on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Side Network. Let's go.
He's got whatever the miss, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the find. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. It's on go, roll, roll, y'all. It's Roland Martin, yeah. Rolling with Roland now. He's funk, he's fresh, he's real, the best, you know he's Roland Martin now.
Folks, the ninth day of a government shutdown, and Donald Trump and his MAGA thugs are saying they're not going to pay federal employees. Even got the IRS agreeing with them. Let's go to Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz out of Florida. She joins us right now. Congresswoman, glad to have you on the show. It's insane to see what is happening. Now they're trying to say, oh, we're not going to pay federal workers like we've done in the past who were impacted by government shutdown. This literally makes no sense whatsoever.
Not only does it make no sense, Roland, and congratulations. It's great to be with you on this platform, and congratulations on your success. We've talked about this over the years, and I'm glad to see that you've launched. But it's federal law. It not only doesn't make sense, it's federal law that Donald Trump signed himself in 2019 to make sure that federal workers would be guaranteed their back pay when they're furloughed during a government shutdown. This is a furlough through no fault of their own. It is federal law. There's no way that they can do that. And what he's trying to do is just make sure that he exacts as much pain as possible to try to intimidate Democrats into backing down, when we have to make sure we stay singularly focused on canceling the cuts, lowering costs, and saving Americans' health care. And that has to be a part of any end of the fiscal year government spending deal.
Congresswoman Wasserman Schultz, this is Greg Carr, one of the panelists here at Roland Martin Unfiltered, and we're glad to have you on and continuing to fight the good fight. We see that today, of course, for the seventh time, the Senate failed to reopen the government. It seems as if public opinion is really turning against the Republicans now. What's your sense as you talk to your constituents and your colleagues on the Hill as it relates to, for lack of a better term, the PR, the optics of this moment? It almost seems like it's turning against them now. What's your sense?
That's very much my sense as well. I'll tell you, I have the sixth most signups in the entire country for the Affordable Care Act, and Florida is the #1 state in signups, including Hialeah, which is a Republican city in Miami-Dade County, which has the most of any city in the country. We've got people contacting our office who, for example, we got a call from a Fort Lauderdale father of 5 whose family's premiums are going to go up $1,200 a month. The astronomical increases. You have the average couple making $82,000 a year in my district. They would see their premiums rise annually $18,000. That's a 259% increase. As a breast cancer survivor, I know if you don't have your health, you don't have anything. And it is absolutely critical that not only we deal with the cost of living driven up by Donald Trump's tariffs and his refusal to actually address costs like he promised. But now, because of the big ugly law, they kicked 15 million people off of Medicaid. And now they're going to cause millions of people to have their healthcare costs get driven up. And they'll use the emergency room as their primary access point when they can't afford their healthcare. And that'll shift costs to all of us.
Yes, ma'am.
But Congresswoman, the big thing, here's what jumps out at me on this whole piece. You obviously have the healthcare piece. And what I have been saying is that one of the things that Democrats have to also do, they have got to hammer home that the people who need the Affordable Care Act the most are the folks in these red states. And to me, that means literally going to these red states. I'm talking about. I get what's happening in D.C., but I think what has to be happening, whether it's Ken Martin at the DNC or others, literally going to West Virginia, Ohio, Utah, South Carolina, and saying y'all are going to get screwed. You have the worst health outcomes. You have the worst economic conditions. And so if the Republicans who y'all voted for keep this up, y'all are going to get screwed.
You're right. And we have been taking this message on the road all year long, right to Republican states, doing town halls in Republican districts because the Republicans won't show up and do their own town halls, Roland. So we've been doing that to make sure that their constituents understand we're here, we're ready to negotiate. By the way, let's also talk about that the Republicans left town. The House hasn't voted since September 19th. They canceled votes last week. They canceled votes this week. They are AWOL. And we're at the table ready to negotiate. That's how it's always been done when we've had government shutdowns in the past. I've never seen one party just leave the table and leave people twisting in the wind like this as if they don't care and they think they're going to be able to ride this out when these premium notices, these increases are landing in mailboxes right now. So the pain is only going to get worse, not better.
I think you couple that, the healthcare issue, with what's happening with these farmers who are moaning and crying about soybean and the costs. And same thing. Listen, Trump said he was going to impose these tariffs. These people voted for it. So they're getting exactly what they voted for. So when you hear the people say, oh, this is not what I voted for, are you as confused as I am?
It is baffling, and his tariff policy is wildly unpopular. It is actually killing our farmers in rural areas, so much so that now they're having to talk about passing relief for the farmers to help them with the increased costs and the the price cuts that they've been dealing with because of Trump's tariffs. So they are actually screwing their own red state people. They're hurting agriculture badly, and now they're having to spend money to actually make up for that. It is such an upside down, backwards policy that is actually hurting the United States economy, not helping.
Help me here. This continuing resolution, how long is it?
I think I might have lost you, Roland.
Yeah. No. So I said, okay. So what you're voting on?
There we go.
How long? What you're voting on? If you vote to reopen the government, how long is this continuing resolution? Is it several weeks?
It's a 7-week resolution that the Republicans say, yeah, we can just keep the government open and we'll get to health care. We don't have to do that now. That's a December problem, not a right now problem. I'll tell you, I had a receptionist in Cooper City tell me that her annual premiums were going to go up $3,200. That is real money for someone who works as a receptionist. And this is a right now problem, not a 3-month from now problem. And it's something that we have to make sure that we include as part of the overall deal that we make when it comes to how we fund the government. These tax credits are expiring December 31st, and people are getting those increases, those notice of increases right now. So Republicans need to come to the table. They need to come back to work.
Well, see, the reason I asked that, we're having a fight right now for a 7-week continuing resolution, And in 7 weeks, we're going to be right back at this same spot, right?
Yes, which is why we need to negotiate the full decision on how to deal with this right now. I don't know what they think is going to be different in 7 weeks. It'll just be closer to the deadline and there'll be more pressure. They had all year to deal with this. We asked them to include this in the big ugly law that they passed. They refused. They kicked the can down the road further, and now they're saying, "Oh, just trust us. We'll just pass this CR for 7 weeks, and we'll negotiate with you after that point." Well, no. Then it's November, and we're about a month out by then. And when it comes to making sure that people have affordable health care, that is absolutely critical. If you don't have your health, you don't have anything, and you should not be forced to the 82,000 people in my district who would lose health care entirely, and the 203,000 people who would see their costs skyrocket if those tax credits expire. They deserve affordable health care. They shouldn't have to use the emergency room as their access point, and they shouldn't be forced into being diagnosed at later stages of illness and having much more expensive healthcare complications that might kill them.
Well, I'm gonna tell you this here, Congresswoman. I've traveled this country, and all I'm hearing from people who watch this show, when I'm all around, folks are saying Democrats bet, not bend, buckle. They said they need to stand firm and continue to take the fight to Republicans because they see how they are abusing the Department of Justice. They see how they are abusing people with these ICE folks. They see what's happening with National Guard. And I'm hearing people say enough is enough. They're sick of it. And this is a hill Democrats must die on and stand firm and fight them tooth and nail and get everything they want and not compromise.
This is critical. Our leader, Hakeem Jeffries, has been very clear, consistent, and unifying. The House Democrats are in lockstep. We're not budging. Our Senate counterparts haven't been budging either. And we need to just stay in this fight. We need to make sure that we pay the troops. And we need to make sure that we guarantee the law is enforced to pay our furloughed employees who are only off the job now because Republicans refuse to come to the table and do their job and make sure health care is affordable.
All right, Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz, appreciate it. Look forward to having you back on the show.
We'd love to. Thanks so much, Roland. Good to see you.
Likewise. Thanks a lot. Folks, got to go to a break. We'll be right back. Roland Martin Unfiltered right here on the Black Star Network.
Next on the Black Table with me, Greg Carr. A reminder that there is always more to a story than meets the eye. From book bannings, growing censorship in our classrooms, and the loss of basic human rights, the actual motivations behind those actions and others paint an even more troubling picture than most of us realize.
What we need to do is bring this issue front and center to the table, because the alternative is that we'll just go down slow, which is no way to go down.
Master historian and educator Dr. Gerald Horn joins us again, and we take a deep dive into the truths behind the headlines of the day and how we might be able to turn the tide. That's on the next Black Table here on the Black Star Network.
If in this country right now, you have people get up in the morning and the only thing they can think about is how many people they can hurt, and they got the power, that's the time for mourning.
For better or worse, what makes America special, it's that legal system that's supposed to protect minorities from the tyranny of the majority.
We are at a point of a moral emergency. We must raise a voice of outrage. We must raise a voice of compassion. And we must raise a voice of unity.
We are not in a crisis of party versus party. We are in a crisis of civilization, a human rights crisis, and a crisis of democracy itself. And guess what? You've been chosen to make sure that those that would destroy, those that would hate, don't have the final say, and they don't ultimately win.
What's good, y'all? This is Doug E. Fresh, and you're watching my brother Roland Martin Unfiltered as we go a little something like this. Hit it. It's real.
right, folks, let's get right to it. Dr. Nola Haynes, Georgetown School of Foreign Service out of D.C., also Greg Carr, Department of Afro-American Studies, Howard University, Cameron Trimble, also joins us on the panel, CEO of Hip Politics Media, former White House Senior Advisor. Greg, I'm going to go to you first. Bottom line is this here. They got to stand firm. They got to stand tall, and they got to bring Republicans to their knees on this issue. They must be on the offensive every single day, every hour, every minute, every second.
You're absolutely right, Roland. And, it's an interesting convergence, isn't it, at this moment? Looking at that commercial that played during the break with Reverend Barber, he's right. This is a moral issue. It's a broad issue, but I said that as a prelude to this. People don't take a lot of time to think about the broader issues and the values and the concepts. This is a clear issue in this moment of party versus party. It is absolutely party versus party. The Republicans, the White Nationalist Party, has one objective and one objective only: to obstruct everything so that their Lord and Master, Donald John Trump, will not have to face those Epstein files, will not have to face the cascade that is going to be eventually fall down upon all of them because of all of this illegal, outlandish, outlaw, fascist activity. Everybody else who is against that, Trump and them are labeling as Democrats. You're a Democrat, you're a communist, you're a Republican. The Democratic Party, in other words, at this moment, does not just represent the party apparatus. It represents everybody who is anti-fascist. So no, they cannot bend. Right now, MAGA Mike Johnson, the MAGA Muppet, is a purebred liar through his DNA. Now they have thrown all caution to the wind, and they are desperate because Trump doesn't want anybody to do anything that he thinks will endanger him personally. So you've got Adelita Grijalva, who has been in this city now for days saying, swear me in. And this little man gets on television at press conferences and says, I'll swear in whatever she wants. Meaning what? The Republicans have thrown all caution to the wind, and they are purebred liars. That finally, the Democratic Party's responsibility at this point is to make this a moral battle between these evil fascists and everybody else. Anybody who budgets from the Democratic Party needs to be separated from the Democratic Party. This is not the time to play, we're going to be bigger than them. No. This is fascism versus everybody. And for good, for better, for worse, the Democratic Party at this point is the representative of everybody.
Cameron, this is game on. The simple as that, this is game on.
It is game on, and I've been talking to several members of Congress over the last few days and making sure, doing one thing, that they're upping the ante, the amount of content they're flooding the airwaves, getting on as many platforms as possible, really consistently and continuing to define the problem, why they're standing in, why the government is shut down, why this is about healthcare, why this is about taxes for the rich, how this is affecting people. And then the one thing I would say, Roland, is that the Democrats do, while this is they have an opportunity here to continue to define this government shutdown as something that is wholly owned by the Republican Party. And there are votes coming up, and there are elections coming up in November in a few key states that where we're going to see if people do assign this government shutdown and all the pain that they're feeling and will continue to feel to Republicans. But the Democrats don't need to overplay their hand where, hey, it's Democrat. This is, as Dr. Carr said, this is fascist versus everybody else. Some people may not want to hold the term Democrat, but they do want to hold the term of fighting back. So this is an opportunity for them to broaden that message and broaden their coalition. So even if I don't want to identify as a Democrat, but I identify against this fascist regime, I identify against all this pain that the Republican Party is causing the American people.
Yes.
Nola.
So 2 quick things. Yesterday, I spent a little time with Leader Schumer and also Senator Booker, and it was a very interesting conversation. The first thing to know is the Democrats are responding to polling that is favorable, that the rest of the country is aligned with their message around healthcare. And because they are seeing the results of what Cameron just mentioned, them tapping into new voices, doing things with content creators, even Chuck Schumer's video from the other day that he's very proud of, that he wants everybody to share. So they're starting to see some positive gains in terms of messaging. And one of the things that I had a chance to ask Senator Booker, and he had a very eloquent response, which we're not surprised. I asked him, what's beyond the party versus Trump? Like, what else is there? And so it was very clear from this battle with the big, beautiful bill, with the shutdown, that it's very clear that the message is about the American people. That's it. It's wanting to do the right thing by the American people instead of waking up with horrible thoughts of vengeance and wanting to hurt the American people. So from what I understand, that's what they're going to build momentum on, is how they can help American people, not only help us through this time, but beyond that. And I am on board for a message that is about the American people.
Well, again, I just think what has to happen here is there has to be it has to be a constant position of attack, Cameron. It has to be aggressive in every way. And it can't just be just what's happening in Washington, D.C. This is where the strategy, as I said, got to be farming people out all around the country and hitting people. So you're getting not just national television, but you're getting on these local broadcasts, these local radio broadcasts, local television station broadcasts in these red states, in these cities.
I think exactly. They need to be on local TV, local radio, local content creators. Everybody, that local sphere of influence. I've seen, for example, Congressman Gabe Amo up in Rhode Island. He's done a good job of showing up in his district, in different places, in different federal buildings, in different places to show, like, here's a real world effect of the government shutdown. Here's a real hospital. Here's a real business that is not going to receive grants. Here's a real community nonprofit organization whose funding has been cut off and jobs are being lost and services are being lost. Like, they've got to put that on camera. They've got to put that on video. They've got to consistently talk, because if they're with any silence, they realize they're up against a misinformation mega machine. So they've got to do it and not stop.
Again, the reason I'm saying the messaging war is critical, because, Greg, this could be the thing that Democrats have been searching for the past 9-10 months, where they're able to gain their footing and build some traction. So they have to be building off of this, and again, staying on the offensive, because, as Nolan said, the polling data is with them on this.
Sure. I have absolutely zero faith in or expectation of the Democratic Party. Okay, let's just set this as a level set for me. Many of their politicians are no different than Republican politicians or any elected position. They want to retain the office. They have their donors, they have the lobbyists, and they're going to go whichever way the wind is blowing. That having been said, the wind is strongly blowing in the direction of the right thing to do. I don't ever have to hear from Chuck Schumer again in my entire life. My life, his life combined, double it, triple it, quadruple it. I never need to hear from him again. He is completely useless in this. If he wants to make social media stuff, if he wants to do that, that's fine. And with all that as a prelude, I will say this. Because the wind is blowing in that direction, it is up to those stronger voices in the Democratic Party to really lead this charge. I don't think Chuck Schumer needs to be leading this charge. John Thune, the majority leader in the Senate, has revealed himself to be an utter and completely, he has a complete lack of morals, and utter fascist. He's talking now as crazily as Donald Trump talks. The MAGA Muppet, Mike Johnson, nearly 40% of his district, almost 290,000 people, are on Medicaid in his district. Those voices in the Democratic Party who are able to frame this issue need to be the ones leading this battle. And these other folks who are more cautious and more polls-driven probably need to be a little bit more quiet. And what they don't need to do is introduce any harm. And I think that at this point now, the strategy has to be allow those voices to lead, allow, as we just heard Cameron say, the forces who are not identifying as Democrat or Republican or engaged in the political process whatsoever to see in those voices a beacon, Allow those voices to include not just those here inside the Beltway, but people like the mayor of Chicago, Brandon Johnson, the governor of Illinois, the governor of California, and others who are willing to fight. Let them lead this fight from the provinces, because what will happen is this desperation continues and they get more and more desperate. It becomes a loop, which makes them look more and more absurd, which means that wind will blow stronger and stronger. And if this were the Hunger Games, the movie, the rebellion is coming from the provinces and the capital city is on the verge of collapse. And by the way, MAGA Mike, swearing Adelita Grijalva so she can give that 218th vote so that your Lord and Master Donald John Trump can have the thing that he fears the most, which is those files being released, my little friend. Winter is coming. I think Roland might be.
Thank you.
Are you just going to throw it to me?
Yeah, you're going to. Well, I tell you what, I think probably the control booth is going to ask us to take a quick break. And when we come back, we will resume with Roland Martin Unfiltered, unless they're telling us something different. I think we probably take a moment. I hear the music playing, so we'll be back in a moment here on the Black Star Network with Roland Martin Unfiltered. Back in a moment. Next on the Black Table with me, Greg Carr. A reminder that there is always more to a story than meets the eye. From book bannings, growing censorship in our classrooms, and the loss of basic human rights, the actual motivations behind those actions and others paint an even more troubling picture than most of us realize.
What we need to do is bring this issue front and center to the table, because the alternative is that we'll just go down slow, which is no way to go down. Master historian and educator Dr. Gerald Horn joins us again, and we take a deep dive into the truths behind the headlines of the day and how we might be able to turn the tide. That's on the next Black Table here on the Black Star Network.
On the next Get Wealthy with me, Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, we talk about the principles of mindset, strategy, and execution. This week, we're adding a fourth, faith. You're going to hear from a mother and daughter duo who are helping thousands of Black women build wealth, all through their faith.
You are more than you can ever imagine. Not just obtaining things to show that, but seeing yourself.
Making your faith work for you. That's right here on Get Wealthy, only on Black Star Network.
This week on A Balanced Life, parents, teachers, students, administrators, oh my, are you putting in the work, seeking to be a teacher, an associate principal, a principal, trying to elevate who you are and where you're going?
Our world is changing. For veteran teachers, we have to be able to usher in students into a ever-changing, ever-evolving world.
If we have this triangular effect, we will create a successful student who will be able to just thrive wherever and in any situation that they're placed in. Join us this week on A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie here on Black Star Network.
They said the quiet part out loud. Black votes are a threat, so they erased them. After the Supreme Court gutted the Voting Rights Act in 2013, Republican legislatures moved fast. New voter ID laws, polling place shutdowns, purges of Black voters from the rolls. Trump's Justice Department didn't stop it, they joined in. In 2018, his DOJ backed Ohio's voter purge system, a scheme that disproportionately erased Black voters. Their goal, erase Black votes and political power. Yeah, that happened. These are the kinds of stories that we cover every day on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Subscribe on YouTube and download the Black Star Network app. Support fact-based independent journalism that centers African Americans and the issues that matter to our community.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
As an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol, we've seen
We're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear.
Hello, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase, and I'm here with a very important message. We are at a turning point in the Black community where we must have equity in the apps we use that scale to billions of dollars. But this time, we own the infrastructure, we own the culture, and we shape the future. And Fanbase is the future. Fanbase combines the free functionality of Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube into an all-in-one platform built for the evolution of social media and monetization. With over 1.4 million users, that's real proof that we are shifting the conversation of tech ownership and equity for creators. So right now, I want you to go to startengine.com/fanbase and invest today. The minimum to invest is $399. That gets you 60 shares of stock in Fanbase at $665 a share. This marks a turning point in Black ownership of social media. If we don't take this opportunity to own social media right now, we will always be customers to our own creations. And that can't go on. So once again, go to startengine.com/fanbase and invest today. We must own the platforms where our voices live, our stories matter, and where our culture drives the world. Thank you.
Hey, yo, what's up? This is Mr. Dalvin right here. What's up? This is KC. Sitting here representing the JODECI, that's Jodeci, right here on Roland Martin Unfiltered.
I've warned you numerous times there's a massive case that will go before the Supreme Court on October 15th that could very well wipe out half of the Congressional Black Caucus. Folks, this is the most serious attack on the Voting Rights Act since that Shelby v. Holder case was settled more than a decade ago. Fair Fight Action and Black Voters Matter Fund, they released a new report explaining what's at stake in the Louisiana versus Callais case. Again, the Supreme Court are going to be rehearing arguments next week that center on Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act, the central safeguard against racially discriminatory redistricting. Now I want you to keep in mind what we're talking about here. Supreme Court has already ruled in this particular congressional seat that black voters were frankly screwed out of representation. They declared that the Louisiana maps were unconstitutional. They ruled against Louisiana. They had to create a second district. The folks in Louisiana elected Cleo Fields. Louisiana then said, oh, we want a second bite. In fact, they had multiple bites at the apple. It went to the Supreme Court. It went back. The Fifth Circuit is all these games they played. They kept losing everywhere. Then they said, let's attack this a different way. Now that Trump is in the White House, now you have these far-right legal theories about, how about we say no use of race in any redistricting? That could be the death knell. LaTosha Brown, co-founder of Black Voters Matter, joins us right now. And LaTosha, we tried to tell people, we always say hashtag, we tried to tell you during the election what's at stake. When all these Simple Simons out here were saying, oh, we survived him the first time, oh, tangibles, oh, it's not that bad. We kept saying, no, you don't understand what's going on. We have now seen how Chief Justice John Roberts, how they have been ruling. And Kavanaugh, and Alito,
and Amy Coney Barrett, and we know, of course, we know Clarence Thomas, who despises black people. And so this case right here, the fact that they're rehearing this case a year after they've already settled the case should be scary to all of us who care about voting rights and civil rights.
You know, I think this is going to be the most significant possible, is the most significant voting rights case that we've seen since 2012, when there was a gutting of Section 5. The two things in the Voting Rights Act that actually made it powerful was Section 5, which was stripped earlier, that basically was a pre-clearance clause, that before you draw a district, you had to have a district, you had to get pre-clearance to do that. But the second piece that I think a lot of people, in terms of Section 2, what it does, it gives the right to draw, to gerrymander districts in such a way that black voters have some input, some real influence over the outcome of it, so that we can get representation. In Louisiana, I don't know if people know this, but 1/3 of the population of Louisiana are black people. That's 1/3 of the state, right? Yet we only had one for years. We only had one congressional district, right? As you said earlier, Roland, you know, it was because of the courts came back. It was so egregious that they told the state of Louisiana, look, y'all, we can't do this. You got to fix it. And as a result, they created the second district. Now there's a small group of folks that are coming back saying that for us to have fair representation, that in some way that's discriminating against white voters. We got to see what the line is. It's ironic that we're in this moment that the same court that says that it's okay to use race to racial profile, that ICE can use it to racial profile, but now we're looking at this case that really essentially will undermine black, brown representation, particularly throughout the South, but around the nation. So I think people need to understand, like, look at this case. The fact that the Supreme Court is taking it up. You just made a ruling a year ago saying that it was egregious what happened. You made a ruling in Alabama, in the Alabama case, saying that in Alabama, more representation as black people make up 25% of the state. So, but here we are in a heightened environment where we're seeing we're seeing racism be weaponized in all forms of the court system right now, and in society right now in this nation. And so this is a critical, I need black folk, I need all people who really care about democracy to wake up and see really what's at stake here.
This case is not just about Louisiana, LaTosha. Again, the net effect of this case could very well, on the low side, wipe out 20 CBC seats. It will impact also Latinos as well. It could mean half of the Congressional Black Caucus. There are 61 members of the CBC right now. The 18th congressional seat in Houston has not been filled with the death of Congressman Sylvester Turner. We're talking about potentially 20 to 30 black members, those seats wiped out if the Supreme Court agrees with the folks challenging the Louisiana case.
It could be devastating for some. I apologize. I don't know if the connection is wrong, bad on my end or not.
It's going in and out, but go ahead. We hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. It went in and out, but we can hear you. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I think I know what you said, but I'll just say that, you know, people need to understand what is at stake here. This isn't about, we don't need to get caught up whether you like this party or this. Right now, what's at stake is power. That this is really a power grab. This is a grab that says that the majority of black voters now actually live in the South. And so if this case, if the Supreme Court rules against rules against us and rules that to take out Section 2, what essentially that will do, as you just stated, Roland, it will strip black and brown seats throughout the South, which actually will limit representation. But that just doesn't have implications in the South. That has implications on who will actually have power in the entire nation. So everybody should be paying attention to what is happening. This is a power grab. We have to raise our voices so that we can actually put the Supreme Court notice that we are paying attention to you. We're paying attention to this ruling, and we will not go quietly in the night. The South has something to say, and we will not be silenced. So there are couple of things that people can do. One, we want to have people to sign a petition. We are circulating. We are standing in support of the Voting Rights Act. Leave the Voting Rights Act alone and make sure that our representation, it's protected. And so they can sign the petition. You can find the petition on our website, Black Voters Matter Fund.org. Well, the second thing is they can also join us next Wednesday, October 15th at 10 a.m. The NAACP Legal Defense Fund is holding a rally on the Supreme Court. We need to show up in mass and in solidarity to say that we are watching, we are paying attention, and our voices should not be silent. So if you're interested in that, we're actually taking some buses up from the South. You can go to our website again, blackvotersmatterfund.org, and get information about that. And the thing is, I need people to understand that we have to fund our fight. That somebody has to pay for this. We've got to fund. And I ask you to donate to frontline groups. If you can't attend, at least support those groups that are fighting for us day in and day out. You can fund groups like Transformative Justice Coalition, support groups like the NAACP Legal Defense Fund, support Fair Black Voters Matter, even the Roland Martin Show, that we've got to really start using our money in such a way that we're supporting those that are on the front lines, that will bring us the truth, and that will help us really push back what we're seeing happen in this nation right now.
Again, you broke up there. So the rally that's going to be taking place, when is that?
The rally is on Wednesday, October 15th, at 10 a.m. in front of the Supreme Court, on the steps of the Supreme Court. Join us October the 15th. The Legal Defense Fund is hosting a rally at the Supreme Court on the steps. You can also join us. We're taking some buses up. So you can go to our website and find out more information about how you can join and be a part of our delegation, or just come and join us and stand up for voting rights.
I was speaking to the Louisiana State Conference, the NAACP, on Saturday in Baton Rouge, and they actually are plaintiffs in this Callais lawsuit. And they're going to have folks who are from Louisiana coming up for the oral arguments, because those oral arguments are happening on that same day at the Supreme Court. So that's why folks are rallying outside of the Supreme Court.
And I want to go back to the third thing that I asked, that I talked about funding our freedom, funding our fight.
Mm-hmm.
People got to wake up. Do you know there's a thing called the Marble Freedom Trust? They are putting $1.6 billion behind this. They're funding conservative legal fights such as this. They're fights that they come up in the lab and it was like, listen, what are some ways that we can undermine, grab power, and marginalize voices? This is a part of that. And so the other side is fully funding fights like this Marble Freedom Trust. $1.6 billion. I'm asking people, $5, $10, $50, whatever denomination that you can afford and that you can give and put your spirit behind that we're saying we've got to stand together as a community and recognize that there are fights on all kinds of levels. We know that there's all kind of issue fights going on. But what we do know is that when there's a fight, you need to make sure that your front lines are taken care of. We need to make sure that we're able to fight to make sure that we always have representation, particularly in the South.
We've covered this on this show, Tasha and LaTosha, trying to get people to understand. You're talking about this Marble Trust. What you had this rich Republican who gave, and frankly, he hasn't passed away. He's still here. He gave Leonard Leo this money, the $1.6 billion, to create this. And Leonard Leo, this is Leonard Leo right here. This is the man who ran the Federalist Society, who put the Supreme Court, these conservative Supreme Court justices on the court. And what they are trying to do with this money right here, you see here, this is in 2023 alone. This is the New York Times, a deep-pocketed nonprofit organization founded by the conservative activist Leonard Leo, gave away $182.7 million in a year's time. They were formed in 2020. The gift was $1.6 billion. It came from one person. That single donor's contribution of 100% of a company's shares before the company was sold. And so he gave Leonard Leo this money to spend any way he wants to. And what progressives have to understand in this battle, LaTosha, is that these people are clear. And this is what I laid out earlier. This is what I laid out earlier. And when I'm talking about in January, I said point blank, what these people want to do is they want to completely defund Black America. Robert Mercer, who funded Breitbart. And Breitbart, when they were attacking Black people left and right, Robert Mercer is quoted as saying that the decline of America, and I'm going to find the quote, he was saying that the decline of America began with the Civil Rights Act. That was a particular, he called it a major mistake, okay? Now, keep in mind, this is the same language, and people understand, this is the same language that Charlie Kirk was using. This is the same language that the right is using. So now, I need people who listen, watch it, understand, connect the dots. Why do they despise the Civil Rights Act? Because it's not just public accommodations for Black people. It's the fact that these white folks could not discriminate in so many areas, even privately. Then you go to the Voting Rights Act. They despise that. Then you go to the Fair Housing Act. So people need to understand what their target goal is. Their target goal first is to destroy and eradicate the Voting Rights Act, because what that does is that completely decapitates Black political power. Because I said, LaTosha, that it could wipe up half of the CBC. But here's what people have to understand. The same Voting Rights Act is used for state rep seats.
That's right.
County commissioner seats, city council seats, school board seats. So you could see a complete political obliteration of Black politics across the country if the Supreme Court rules in Louisiana's favor in this case. That's how dangerous. So that's the political piece. And so their goal is to do that. Then their goal is to go after the economic piece. They already took out affirmative action in universities. And so their strategy, every single thing that Black people died for in 13 years of the Black freedom movement, they want to wipe out. And then they're also using the very civil rights laws born out of Reconstruction, the same Civil Rights Act of 1866, using that against us. So people need to stop. You know, I've been yelling and screaming. I'm like, y'all, we're out here bullshitting, and I love dancing, and I love having a good time and boots on the ground. I'm like, yo, but these folks, they're playing for keeps because they want to solidify white power for the next 100 years because they know the demographics are changing.
Oh, absolutely. Part of the problem, Roland, you know, that's why I hate hearing folks say, well, you know, why are we voting because it don't count? Stop it, y'all. Like, stop it. That whole excuse is just tired. I'm like not even listening to that anymore because it's tired and it's untrue because we're in the space that we're in right now because people don't know what power and what power levers we have. Do I believe that voting is the only power? Absolutely not. But is it a form of power? You better believe it is, which is part of they're coming for three things, as you just stated. They're coming for our power, our political power, they're coming for our money, right? And they're coming for our humanity. What happened in Chicago, you got folks they're dropping down in Black Hawks, going and snatching folks out of their apartments. Don't think that you are safe, that can't happen to you. And we've got to always make sure that our front lines are covered. It is important who is in office that represents us. Why? Not only for them to fight back against that, but how do you think allocations are made? When money is being made at the table, I need to make sure that there's somebody at that table that is accountable to me or feels some sense of accountability to me to make sure that we're not completely left out. The writing is on the wall. We are seeing what is happening. We are seeing this consolidation of power, this attempt to consolidate power. And what can stop it? We can. People can. When people rise up, you can make a difference. That's why this isn't the moment, like you said. Like you said, Roland, I like to put boots on the ground, but we need some real boots on the ground. We need some folks on front lines recognizing how critical this moment is and understand that this is a transformative moment. This just can't be about transactions. We cannot let people come for us and we are not responding. We cannot let people come for us in our power and we're not organizing. You know, there's a Bible verse I was really thinking about. Everything around us is coming and giving this message of fear. Like everything around us wants us to be afraid and want us to be fearful and want us to feel powerless, right? And ultimately they're coming at us and want us to feel all of those things. And so I went to the scriptures because I'm a person from the Christian faith tradition. I went to the scriptures and there was a scripture that just stuck out to me. And it said, perfect love drives out all fear. We've got to actually center ourselves in perfect love. What does that mean? That means that we've got to center in love for our community, love for our families, love for ourselves, love for democracy, love for freedom. This ain't the moment just to have an opinion or just to say, oh, they're going to do what they want to do anyway. No, they don't do what they want to do anyway. They will do what you allow them to do. If you are not fighting, you are the problem. So all those folks, and I love to hear my niece would say it all the time. Ooh, I wouldn't have been able to do this in the civil rights movement. Whatever you're doing right now is what you would have been doing in the civil rights movement. Is what you would have been doing in slavery. What you would have been doing when our people were fighting for our lives. Ultimately, right now, this is not a game. This is not a drill. That ultimately there is a strategy to really unravel all of the gains that we've made, to have Black folks in a perpetual subservient position, for us not to have political power, for us not to have economic power, and for us not to have the right to be self-determined. We have to resist that with everything in us. This is the moment. This is the time.
Questions from the panel. Let me first go to Cameron.
Great to see you. One thing that I think that you just mentioned, that voting is the power, and people have to realize that their vote does matter, but kind of being in the streets, trying to get young people, trying to get Black people, trying to get people from the hoods to the neighborhoods in the suburbs to be able to let them know that their vote still does have power. But if this Section 2 of the voting rights is gutted, the power that one of the power levers that they still had, even if they weren't exercising, will be stripped away. How do we make the case to people who haven't been voting? Because there's so many people who stayed at home and on the couch, who if they come to the ballots and they come to the polls this year and they come to the polls next year, it's one of our last chances to really fight back. How do we really encourage them to get out and vote and not shame them, but encourage them?
One, thank you for that question. One, I think it's real quick, simple. We got to stop lying and tell the truth. And what do I mean by stop lying? I think over what we have done is that we have, over the years, to get people to vote, we do a couple of things. One, we got to scare you to death, right, and hope that you get mad and angry and understand how important it is. Or we tell you it's the end all, it's the be all, it's going to solve your problems. Many people have done that. And folks know that that's not true. The truth is that voting in itself is not all that we need. We can actually honestly say that. So when people are saying that they have some concern about that, there's some validity to that. We understand, many of us. I know that I've voted for people before and not got all the things that I wanted, or the things that, even some of the things that they promised me. I understand that, right? And so I think we have to validate when people are saying that instead of shaming them. We have to own that and own that this system is deeply flawed, right? But the truth part of it is that does it matter? Absolutely. There's not a single person that can say that it doesn't matter, or they've not done real work. Because if you've gone in the courtroom, have a certain judge, y'all know there's some judges that you don't want to go to before. There's some judges that you do. There are some DAs that can make the difference between the same exact charge, whether our people will get some parity, or if something as simple as having some cannabis will get thrown the book at, right? That it does make a difference. And we're sophisticated enough to know that it makes a difference. We got to stop, right, with not being truthful with each other, of saying that, yes, we understand the limitations and you are right. But the truth of the matter is, when a people are at war or being attacked, you have to use every tool available to you to protect your community. And that's what I think we have to be we have to really root our answer in when we're talking to folks and engage them in what they care about and make that connection to what is it that you care about and help them to actually be able to see.
Right.
Because oftentimes we're not making the connection points for them.
Well, also, we got to let them know you don't see nobody white telling white folks not to vote. It's only Simple Simon Negroes who yell and screaming on social media like, yeah, don't vote. That vote ain't going to do nothing. Yeah, that's you, Umar Johnson, and the rest of y'all. But ain't it funny, the people who say voting don't matter, but when they're trying to get a school built, they got to go through the state government and the city government. That's all government. See, that's the other thing that I keep trying to tell folk, LaTosha. The people who act like they are living a life where government has no role in their life is an absolute lie. There is nobody on this earth where government does not play a role in your life. I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's city, county, state, federal, school. It does not matter. Government plays a role in the life of everybody, and you better be a participant in that government, or it will definitely deal with your ass accordingly.
No, it's like my take care of your business or your business will take care of you. The bottom line is it's not just in life, it's also in death. There's not a single aspect of our lives that is not impacted by public policy. Even if you have a family member or a loved one to die, in order to collect the life insurance, you got to get the death certificate. Someone actually governed that. Where you live is governed.
Yeah. The death certificate is a government. The death certificate is a government document.
Is a government document. There's no aspect of your life, not a single aspect of your life that is not impacted in some way by public policy, from where you live to how it's zoned to how much money you make at work to how much you can take out, they can take out of your check. So we've got to really be honest that at the end of the day, yes, we may not be able to get everything that you want in this particular way. I understand that those limitations, but the truth of the matter is there are decisions being made about you, whether you agree with the process or not, and the process to actually that you have influence is electing folks. That's just the truth. Those are facts.
Nola.
Hey, LaTosha, it's always great to see you, and you literally always bring all the passion and all the facts, and I'm just always in awe of you. But here's my question. With everything that we're seeing happening around the country, with special elections, special mayoral elections, congressional elections, where Democrats are performing really well, even to the degree where a Trump pollster is worried about this shutdown, especially the messaging around healthcare, saying that it could potentially cost Republicans 10 to 15 points in 2026 if they're not on the right side of this. So here's my question. Are you seeing a shift on the ground the way that we're seeing a shift in these other areas, with messaging that seems to be going a little bit more in a positive direction? We're seeing it in the results in these special elections, but on the ground in Louisiana, where I'm from, what are you seeing? Is any of this landing there the way that it is in other places for people to really get out and to get involved and to understand what's at stake?
So let me say this. One, thank you. Great seeing you, Nola. Let me say this. I think that there's no way that you are a living, breathing human being with any sense of intelligence and not know what time it is. One of the things, Black folks are real perceptive. Don't nobody have to spell out racism to you. You see it, you smell it, you feel it, you know how it feels, you know what it looked like. So at the end of the day, and in all honesty, look at what's happening right now. We're seeing it. We're seeing what happens when there's this concentration, this attempt to consolidate power. And it's not in the same frame. It may not be in the same frame as political parties. I heard my brother Carr, and I understand exactly where he is. The bottom line is we're so beyond that. This isn't about a party fight. This is really about a power fight. And I'm going to tell you, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. I am going to align myself with whoever is going to protect me from those that seek to hurt me, harm me, and kill me. And so that's a strategic decision. That's a strategic decision that Black folks have always had to make and will continue to have to make as we're building what we need to build to be self-determined. And so I think it's really important in this moment that as I've been talking to folks, I've not talked to anybody that does not know what time it is. Matter of fact, what's interesting is as I've been walking in grocery stores, I get stopped on the streets and people will say, what is I need to do? What do I need to do in this moment? And so I think I think that there is a sense of urgency in community, not at the level that I think we need to see it, because I don't want people to move out of fear, but I do want people to move in a way to recognize that our best chance of beating this back has always been we've leveraged our collective power. We've got to use our economic power in a very different way. We can't fund folks who are actually working against us. You shouldn't be getting nothing from Target right now. And a whole list of other people, and you'll hear more about that. But the second thing is when people are trying to take our political power, you can't just poo-poo that. We've got to really be able to organize ourselves and lift that up and spread the word. Some people, what I found is a lot of people don't know what is happening with this case right now, which is part of the reason I'm so glad that Roland let us talk about this on the show, that they don't realize that this case, because there's so many things that are happening, because the chaos is the point. That Trump and the administration are intentionally creating so much chaos and confusion right now that they believe that some things will get lost in the cracks. You got to pay attention, Black folks. You have to pay attention what is happening on us on every level. And if you individually can't pay attention to it, what you need to do is support the kind of organizations that are and the people that are on the front lines.
Greg Carr.
Thank you, Roland. And it's always good to see you, Sister LaTosha. And one of the many things I really deeply value and appreciate about you is your ability to think and be and act in a creative fashion, which is in the best tradition and spirit of our ancestors. So my question builds on or extends and just kind of continues in the vein of the one that we just heard from Nola. And it is really two parts. One, you've kind of already answered, and that is how we not only organize but deploy to maximize our voting strength. We see our brother Gary Chambers in Louisiana giving us updates in terms of the early voting daily on what's going on in New Orleans. What's your sense, particularly in Texas, places like Texas, but maybe even ultimately Louisiana, in terms of how this gerrymander might backfire, even if they get everything they hope for, if we can maximize the voting strength that we have in the hyper-gerrymandered districts, and perhaps even keep some of those districts with representatives that are more favorable to our concerns. And then the other part has to do with creative thinking around the lawsuit. It won't be with this case, but I'm thinking about the voting rights case out of Tuskegee many years ago, Gamillion versus Lightfoot, the landmark case around gerrymandering, because these racists were so obvious that they had to say it was unconstitutional, but they didn't use, because there wasn't a Voting Rights Act then, they used the 15th Amendment. And I think it's been underused amendment in the legal arguments we've made. And so the second part of my question, in addition to thinking about how we can maximize our voting strength, even in hyper-gerrymandered districts, do you think our legal strategy should be more creative so that even if we lose the Voting Rights Act, we begin to build out some jurisprudence along the line of really reviving 15th Amendment legal arguments? And even when it relates to the Voting Rights Act, thinking about, of course, Section 2 being revised in 1982 to say you don't have to prove intent. It's not necessary now. Maybe even try to flip the script in some ways and make the legal argument that in doing this isn't colorblindness. What they are in fact doing is trying to create a legal status for whiteness, which is a form of discrimination on its own, a theory that we really haven't been arguing in.
But LaTosha, before you answer that, go to my iPad, Anthony. This is the 15th Amendment that Greg mentioned. The right of citizens of the United States to vote shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or by any state on account of race, color, or previous condition of servitude. Section 2, the Congress shall have power to enforce this article by appropriate legislation. LaTosha, go ahead.
So, Dr. Carr, let me say this. I actually think that is brilliant what you raised. I'm not a legal scholar, so I can't tell you what would be the best way, but I'm certainly leaning towards what you proposed. However, let me just be honest. We are in the wild, wild west right now. And I'm saying that because much of what is happening right now ain't legal no damn way. Exactly. Right here, you got the court, the same court that is saying that you can use racial profiling to pick people up off the street indiscriminately, right? But you can't use race as a criteria for elections. So we already see that there's something wrong. To the extent that I do think that we should use other creative ways, it really is to show the hypocrisy of the courts and the hypocrisy of what is happening in this nation so people can see. Part of the reason why I think we need to vote, I want to step back for a minute. Part of the reason I do think that, going to your first part of the reason why people need to vote in this election and particularly in the election next year, which may be one of the final and one of the most critical and important elections, is because I actually work with a professor at Harvard that is doing a lot of work around and has done her whole body of work around authoritarianism and how do dictators come into power, right? And what stops them. There are two ways that you actually help stop the consolidation of power. It has been one, through voting, and as you vote, if people feel, even if the other side takes the election, if people just feel that their election was stolen and their voice got cut off, it becomes a tipping point for the organized and where people have toppled governments because of that, right? Or even there have been a major change of governments. The second thing has been some kind of what they call a black swan event, some event that has happened that has been unexpected. Someone got killed, someone like that was the tipping point, like from George Floyd murder that led to the uprising, something that causes folks to actually become so emotionally engaged that they uprise. The bottom line is there is nothing that can stop authoritarianism and the consolidation of power except people. Yes. There's nothing. I'm just being honest.
Right. That's right.
And so we got to actually use these other vehicles in every single way because you got to have your people on the front lines.
Greg asked you the question about Texas and how they could have overplayed their hands. But here's the point that we have to understand, and we've been hammering this on this show, and LaTosha, you know it, Cliff knew it as well. When we vote our capacity, they are banking on us staying at home. Donald Trump reveled after he thanked black people publicly for not voting. So when we turn out, Greg mentioned Texas. When Beto O'Rourke ran against Greg Abbott, 75% of young people in Texas, 30 and under, didn't vote. Texas has the largest number of eligible black voters than any state in the country. When we start talking about Mississippi, you got a brother who's running for U.S. Senate there against Cindy Hyde-Smith. Listen, when she ran and when she lost in 2018, guess what? She only won by 65,000 votes. There were at least 100,000 black people who never even voted. Sherry Beasley, when she ran for Supreme Court Chief Justice of the North Carolina Supreme Court, she lost by 401 votes. And so the votes are there. Bishop Barber, we're on the text chain, he sent it to us. What happened? 600,000 black votes in North Carolina didn't vote. The numbers in Georgia exceed that. So the problem is we're sitting here complaining about power, and if I have to use a light as an example, you can't get any light if you don't plug the son of a bitch in. That's your power source. Voting is the power source.
It is. And what I want people to do, though, I do want to be in a space that I really do. I understand folks' frustration with the system. Hell, we frustrated with it. That is why if you want something changed, you got to change it, right? And it makes a difference. And so I want to make an appeal to our folks. We need you.
Yeah.
Bottom line, this is a moment right now that we actually need you. We need you to protect our children. When we need you to protect, make healthcare, to make sure we got healthcare access. We got to fight for that, y'all. We've got to fight. We need you. We need you to stand in a space. Sometimes all of us have had to do things that we're not comfortable or we're not totally bought in. I'm not here to try to convince you around that voting is going to change everything. What I am here is to convince you that we are in a urgent, dire position and that we need you to stand up for your community, and we need you to use every tool available to you, and one is voting. So there are young people that are listening to this. There are young folks. Part of the reason why people are not engaged, Roland, is because there has been an effort and intention to turn people against the process, right? That ain't just come out of the sky blue. Some of those messages that your vote don't count, Black folk ain't come up with that. There were some people who actually paid folks to actually say that in our community to undermine. The voter suppression that we've seen in the last 5 years accelerated because of this moment. If it didn't matter, why would they try to steal it? We got common sense. We know a game when we see it. The bottom line is games are being played because we, over the years, we have actually grown in our voting power and in our voting strength and our representation.
Just so y'all know, Neonta Williams, I know her. She was a school board member in Birmingham. She won her re-election. Y'all, this is what she sent me. Forget the 53.4 to 46.57. She won by 29 votes. This was a school board race. Look at this here. Look at the numbers. She got
the largest school district in Alabama.
I need y'all to listen. See, we keep talking about how kids matter. In this district, in the runoff, only 423 people voted. She got 226 votes. She won by 29 votes. So you can't tell me that every vote doesn't matter. We got to go, but I got to reemphasize this because you said about the money. The work that y'all do, I need Black people watching. The work that we do, I need Black people watching and listening to understand. That's right. This ain't waiting on some white philanthropist to come write a big-ass check. I just saw that Dominion Voting Systems, which sued Fox, guess what? You know why they settled their lawsuits against Sidney Powell, against Rudy Giuliani? Because a Republican firm bought them. These Republicans, they'll cut billion-dollar checks to buy stuff. Elon Musk, listen, he's on his way to be a trillionaire. They'll spend $50 billion to buy something. What we have to understand is we have to be funding our politics. And I keep saying, I'm not begging these folk to cut us a check, but we're going to demand that they actually spend money in our communities. But if we want to give money to Black folks voting and who's on the ground, I say send it directly to Black Voters Matter. I said, forget these other folk who then we fund stuff, we have fundraisers, we bundle money, and then hope and pray they show up, and some white strategist is sitting there deciding who gets to spend who gets the money. So it's about funding our stuff, and the work that y'all do is right there on the ground, and we are right there with y'all, and our people gotta understand. Those $1, $2, $5, I'm literally sitting right here, LaTosha, while you talking, I'm depositing mobile checks. Like right now, this is 20, 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 this is 17, this is 18. It funds our stuff.
It funds our stuff, and it does such for the morale. We were down in Pritchard, Alabama, a few years ago. I always tell this story. We were on a street corner campaigning, and a sister walked up to us. Out of all of the millions of dollars that we've gotten and given away, this sister walks up to us with a handful of change. It wound up being almost $10 of change that she had dug out of her car, out of the armor of her car, and she said, "Here, y'all, I want y'all to have this because I want to be a part of this movement. I want to support what y'all are doing." You do not understand. I'm still riding off that $10. I still believe that $10 has just been blessed money. It is important for us to know that we are going to have to fund our institutions. If you want Black free press, you got to fund Black free press.
Boom.
If you want Black organizations that are unapologetic, standing on the side, fighting for your children, fighting for you, you've got to fund that. It is no longer acceptable for us to make excuses about what we don't have when we literally have $1 trillion worth of resources that we give to consumers and to companies every day that say won't even stand up for diversity and inclusion and equity. So instead of us giving our money to these folks who are actually working against us, who are in fact funding the people who are working against us. It is a moment. This is get real time. This is a check-in time. We are no longer can just do business as usual. We are under attack. Our community is under attack. And we're going to have to be on the front lines of protecting us by getting involved. You can get involved with us. Come join us on Wednesday, October the 15th, in front of the steps of the Supreme Court for the Legal Defense Fund's rally at 10 a.m. to write a check, give a donation, I don't care if it's to Roland Martin so that he can do independent news and continue to lift up these stories, to Black Voters Matter so we can still have organizers that are out doing the work and making sure that we're in this fight, to groups like Transformative Justice Coalition with Barbara Arnwine that is doing amazing work, Melanie Campbell. I can go on and on. There are groups that are doing frontline work. Mm-hmm. We have to pay to make sure that we are protecting ourselves, because who else going to protect us? If we don't protect us, who else is going to protect us? So take $10, $5, $20, $500, that money that you set aside to get a new pair of shoes. Make sure that your children are able to walk a path that is free of people literally just trying to dig a hole for them, right? And you do that by protecting Black independent power. Listen, and that's just the truth.
Hey,
those are facts.
That's the truth. And it's the truth, nothing but the truth. And I'm going to tell you something right now. So my cousin, Sharonda, sent me a text. Sharonda's mom, my aunt, died in 2020. And her mom, on her deathbed, her mom looked at her and said, your job is to send my $50 to Roland every year. And her son reminded her and said, hey, mama, ain't it time to make that contribution? They do it always around her birthday. So my aunt's been gone for 5 years, but she told her daughter, you send my 50. Even though I'm gone, you send my 50. And right here, y'all, this is this week's YouTube Weekly Podcast. Go to my iPad. Listen, all these shows, y'all see all these shows, I can guarantee you, they bring in way more money than we do. They bring in, look, Pat McAfee got him a $20 million deal with ESPN. You got a Pakistani dude who gave Tucker Carlson $15 million to launch his media company after he made millions at Fox News. Theo Vaughn, right wing, they millions he gets. This Patrick Bet-David, millions of dollars. Megyn Kelly, she was a failure at NBC, and she walked away with almost $70 million off of her contract. So it's easy for us. Tim Cast, right there, he got hundreds of thousands of dollars from a Russian front company just to do 1 or 2 posts a month. And so matter of fact, he got more from Russia than we got from the Harris campaign last year, just so y'all can put that in perspective. And so you see all these folks, you see in terms of what they do, a lot of these right-wing shows, millions of dollars they're able to get, and guess what? We still are doing the work, and then right here, boom, we have 51. And y'all, I'm gonna say it again, we're the only Black news show that's perennially in the top 100 every week. So we take what LaTosha's talking about. When they go out there and they hit those streets in those rural areas and they're sitting here bringing folk food and stuff, they're taking those $5 and $10 contributions. It's 4,500 people watching right now on YouTube. If y'all go, give me the website, LaTosha. Where can people get a Black Voters Matter?
Go to blackvotersmatterfund.org, blackvotersmatterfund.org, and follow our social media as well. Yeah. Because we're putting updates on our work.
Between all the platforms, there's more than 5,000 people. If y'all gave $10 a person, boom, they will say 50 grand.
That's right.
In the next 10 minutes, 50 grand. Right. Y'all, the same thing for us. And so we have to do this because, trust me, Megyn Kelly, she's sitting on millions. Sirius is paying her millions. Sirius, they're paying these folks. Ain't no corporate media cutting us checks. And all you fools like, oh, the white man, ain't nobody white hiding behind one of these doors saying, Roland, do this. Nobody. Okay? So this is, we talk about black independence. That's what this is. LaTosha, y'all keep it the good fight. Folks, get a website again for y'all to give to Black Voters Matter.
BlackVotersMatterFund.org. BlackVotersMatterFund.org.
All right, see you in front of the Supreme Court on Wednesday, October 15, 10 a.m.
See you there.
Thanks a lot. We'll be live streaming it there as well. Folks, got to go to a break. We'll be right back. Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Support the work that we do. We just laid it out there. If y'all want to contribute to what we do right here, this show, the other shows on the Black Star Network, listen, I'm sitting here, y'all. We're launching another daily midday news show. We're launching a weekly show. These things are happening, okay? We're making these things happen, but it takes resources. It takes dollars. I'm telling you right now, and it ain't easy. So if you want to give me a Cash App, use the Stripe QR code. You'll see it right here, bottom left-hand corner. If you want to do PayPal, it's R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Checks and money order. Y'all think I'm lying. I'm telling y'all, I'm literally right here. Depositing checks and money orders live during the show that y'all have given. So checks and money orders. P.O. Box 57. Make it out to Roland Martin Unfiltered. That's the bank account. Make it out to Roland Martin Unfiltered. P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C., 20037-0196. And if y'all want to, take a screenshot right now of this here and post it on your social. This is how we talk about the collective. Do y'all understand that it's a bunch of y'all watching? Millions more could be spreading this news. And guess what then happens? And then just ask folks, give $5, $10 to make this happen. That's how we can reach this $1 million goal as we're launching these new shows. Plus, we're completely redoing, and it should be ready. I'm hoping it's going to be ready by Friday. Keenan, let me know. We're completely changing BlackStarNetwork.com. So that's going to be our written articles news portal. That's happening as well. So there's a lot going on. And so we'll be right back.
This week on The Other Side of Change, we are talking about the government shutdown and how it's impacting our everyday lives, including our pocketbooks.
These motherfuckers are crazy as hell. They are willing to shut down the entire government, to force people to pay more in their health care, to subsidize tax breaks for the wealthiest people.
You're watching The Other Side of Change only on the Black Star Network.
What's up, y'all? This is Wendell Haskins, a.k.a. Win Hogan at the Original T Golf Classic. And you know I watch Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Folks, at the Forbes 30 Under 30 Summit in Ohio, Khalil Green, you may know him as the Gen Z historian, flipped the script in front of more than 2,000 folks. And when he did this, they were like, you got to go. Watch this.
Stupidity is killing us. Yes, you heard me. If you're under the age of 30, the thing that's most likely to kill you isn't a car accident or cancer, it's stupidity. And I'll explain. My name is Khalil Green, but I go by the Gen Z historian on social media. And for the past 4 years, I've been a full-time professional online history educator. This means I'm just like your high school history teacher, except I don't wear khakis, a sweater vest, and a bow tie. I don't grade your homework, and students don't come to me because they have to. They come to me because they want to. And the reason that they want to is because I've learned how to blend entertainment, education, and activism. Now, it wasn't always this way. When I arrived in college at Yale University back in 2017, my parents told me that I had to study computer science if I wanted to be taken seriously. I had to learn about entrepreneurship and become a founder or a tech bro or something in between. But after sitting in on a riveting lecture about the Cold War in my junior year of college, I changed my academic trajectory entirely. And the reason is because even though the humanities were devalued by those around me, it was actually the human part of education, the stories, the people, the meaning that made me fall in love with history. And it's those very same principles that are the foundation of my work today. They're what got me to work with some of the leading educational institutions in the world, like the Smithsonian, PBS, and National Geographic, and they were brought me here to you all today to tell you, once again, that stupidity is killing us. Now, when I say stupidity, I don't mean silly mistakes that someone makes. I mean the concept of anti-intellectualism. Anti-intellectualism is basically when a society becomes allergic to reason, rationality, and research. Now, if you're on social media or the internet, you see anti-intellectual stupid things all of the time. Just this week, you may have heard that Tylenol causes autism, or that Labubus are a better investment than real estate. But the worst thing about this anti-intellectualism is that the leading cause of death for children in the United States is a direct consequence of it. And that's something called gun violence. Now, we all know that America has a problem with guns. Our civilian population has more guns than any military in the entire world. This year alone, on average, 3.4 children have died to gun violence every single day. In 2024, there were 44,000 gun-related deaths. And as I was preparing for this speech, I was hoping that that statistic wouldn't grow. But this morning, as many of you guys did as well, I found out that there were 3 mass shootings yesterday alone, with a number of deaths, some of them including children. And it's stupid, anti-intellectual ideas that keep this crisis going. For example, the idea of thoughts and prayers is a perfect display of how anti-intellectualism blocks solutions to gun violence. It's not the same as believing that the earth is flat, but offering faith-based comfort in lieu of direct action after a tragedy is stupid. Worse yet is the idea that some gun deaths are worth it to protect the Second Amendment. That kind of callousness is also a form of anti-intellectualism because it trades in real solutions for resignation. Manuel and Patricia Oliver can't afford to think that way. Because on Valentine's Day in 2018, their son Joaquin walked into school with flowers for his girlfriend. Joaquin was young, passionate, and full of life. But outside of his writing classroom in Parkland, Florida, his life was cut short by an AR-15. Evelyn Valdez turned 28, and she lived in Miami. She was in love with the city's Wynwood Art District, but just 3 months ago, 3 days after her 28th birthday, police officers were shooting at an armed man, and Evelyn died when she was caught in the crossfire. Youngest of all is King Carter. Now, King Carter was 6 years old. He had a bright smile, and he had dreams of becoming an FBI agent or a football player. One day, he went out to buy candy from the candy lady, and at that time, he was killed after a shootout. Now, what can we do about this? Well, I believe the solution comes from blending the same things that I do every day: activism, education, and entertainment. We have to make knowledge engaging, and we have to turn awareness into action. And that's why today I've partnered with March for Our Lives, Change the Ref, and a number of other parent and youth-led organizations to announce a new edition of 30 Under 30. 30 victims of gun violence who died under the age of 30. This isn't a celebration of who's here today, but it's a tribute to the people that should be. Lives that were cut short before they could accomplish the sorts of feats that could have landed them on this very stage in this very moment. There will be physical editions of this magazine handed out by volunteers, which you can see. But if you want to access it online, any of you can go to 30under30.us. Once again, on your phones, you just type in 30UNDER30.us, and you'll access a digital copy of this magazine. Gun violence can kill anyone here. It can kill you, it can kill me, it can kill anyone that we love. And as I've made clear, death by gun violence is stupid. But that doesn't mean that we have to be. The real question is, will we decide right here and right now that we're smart enough to make a change? Thank you.
All right, folks, the video froze there, but we have the man himself, Khalil Green, here. Glad to have you here. So, Khalil, you had this conversation. You went about 6.5 minutes. Then what the hell happened?
So right after I had the conversation, I went backstage. Everything seemed fine. All the people who were handlers congratulated me, said I did a great job. Went to go talk to my friends. They were telling me I did a great job as well. I was feeling great. In the middle of a conversation with my friends, like these 2 or 3 guards, men over 6 foot tall, very much over 6 foot tall, came up and said, "You have to come with us," looking at me. They took me to a secluded part of the venue, and basically there they said that I would have to have my badge removed. I brought the badge with me here. You can see what it looks like. This badge is what you need to be in the conference venue. And they said that they would have to escort me out of the building because of the speech and allegedly the magazines that were distributed during it. So they took me away, they walked me out of the building and left me there with no badge, saying that I couldn't get in.
That's crazy.
It absolutely is. It absolutely is.
And while you're there, are you trying to reach organizers and say, hey, what the hell is going on?
Yeah, I mean, from there, I can tell the rest of the story. I basically was talking to some of my friends. I immediately texted them. They came out to meet me. I texted some of the people that were there who were part of this project that created the magazine and were working to distribute it during the event. And everyone was really shocked at first. I mean, I was invited there as a speaker. I got the honor of being one of Forbes 30 under 30 honorees, which is something that is very coveted, very prestigious. And to treat someone who's a speaker, I mean, I'm sure you've spoken at colleges or universities.
All the time.
Usually you get the utmost, absolutely, you get the utmost treatment when you're there. So to be escorted out for hours after, I got no communication from anyone at Forbes until the point where I went public with it and then messaged people who I know who worked at the company saying that this was completely unacceptable. Why haven't I been reached out to? Thereafter, they set up a meeting with me for the next day. But that entire first day after it happened, I was in shock, and it was just something that I could have never imagined would come about after speaking on a stage for a company.
And then all of a sudden, they apologized.
Yeah, so during the meeting the next day, I laid out all of my concerns. They tried to explain what went wrong. So from their perspective, they said that they didn't agree with the magazine distribution, that it wasn't cleared. I poke holes in that in an article that I wrote in my newsletter. First and foremost being that there was no process to clear anything. I was told I had free creative reign. Mind you, this wasn't a paid speaking gig where I signed a contract and had to review anything. They said that we're bringing you because they like my ideas and they want to give me full creative control to give a TED-style presentation on the topic of my choice, which I did. I think that they probably got cold feet around the political messaging of it all, and that's what probably prompted them to get scared about it. And then they later on said that they did direct security to take away people's magazines, but they did not direct security to remove me from the premises, that was a decision made by the security contractors on their own, and that they had no idea that it happened. And when I asked them who made this decision, how could security contractors that you hired go rogue all of a sudden to remove me, they said that they didn't know and that they were still investigating. Until this day, I don't have an answer, but I mean, at least I was able to make lemonade out of lemons and use the moment to uplift the project, which was a magazine commemorating and celebrating and honoring the lives of 30 young people who died to gun violence under the age of 30.
What's crazy to me is, again, I've spoken all over the world. Security just doesn't decide to do whatever the hell they want to do on their own. Somebody directs them to do something.
Yeah, I mean, it's a huge question mark. I'm not in this moment still in the process of investigating. At this point, it's in the past in terms of, not that it doesn't affect me and that I don't want to know what happened, but I've been able to use momentum to bring awareness to the project. That's what matters to me most. It's done and over with. But as you say, there's still a huge question mark. It's still unacceptable, and I still don't have a resolution on who it was that did this.
Questions. Let's see. Nola, you first.
Can you repeat that? Sorry.
No, I'm going questions for my panelists. Nola?
Yes. Young man, you are beyond impressive and brave. Thank you so very much. So I love that you said you turned, these lemons into lemonade, and you mentioned momentum. And as we are moving closer and closer to the kind of deeper trenches of authoritarianism, where we're going to see more examples of censorship, we're going to see more things, unfortunately, what happened to you. From your experience, what advice would you give to people who are speaking and, at public engagements and something very similar happens? Just from your experience recently, what would you say to others?
Well, first of all, I've actually not gotten asked that question since this happened. I think it's a great question, so I just want to say that off the bat. Obviously, this happened all in the context of the elephant in the room being mass censorship that we're seeing across the board, most notably with Jimmy Kimmel being removed from his platform after what he said regarding Charlie Kirk. And like you said, I mean, it's something that would probably happen more and more over the next 3 years, hopefully not longer, but definitely over the next 3 years. And if I had to give 3 pieces of advice, the first one would be just have a community. I told a lot of my friends as soon as it happened, what had happened. They ran out of the building. They were there to listen to speakers. Some of them were there to speak themselves, but they stopped what they were doing to come comfort me, make sure that I was doing okay, as well as talking to some of even the family members of the people mentioned in the magazine that were not at the venue, but still there cheering me on. Just having a community is number one. Number two is having a game plan for accountability. For me, because I am a social media content creator, I was able to go straight to my newsletter on Substack, History Can't Hide, and publish to over 30,000 people immediately. And subsequently now, over 1 million people that have heard about this story, publish and tell them what had happened to me. So I had a game plan for accountability that as soon as something like this would happen, I have a way of making sure that there was pressure and there was movement and organizing to make sure the company couldn't just stay silent on what had happened to me and ignore it. But there were people commenting on their social media. There were celebrities reposting it on their stories on social media. So I had a movement and a game plan to hold the company accountable. And the last thing is just make sure that you're doing okay yourself, like check in on your mental health. Because of the initial fervor on social media and the amount of people that were supporting me, I immediately felt euphoria and that okay, this happened to me, but I have people who are backing me. We're going to turn this into something positive. But it wasn't until the end of the week when everything was over that I really sat down and just realized how heavy it was, and not even necessarily the actual removing of me, which was heavy in and of itself, but the content of my speech was about gun violence. And for the rest of that week, what I had to do is have so many people come up to me during the conference asking what happened, and I was sharing with them my speech and why it mattered. And I was talking about the issue of gun violence and kids who were dying to gun violence repeatedly for 3 days straight after this happened at a scale that I didn't imagine I would have to do. And it took me until days later, the weekend, to realize, okay, you were dealing with something very heavy. You need to chill. You need to check in on yourself because you did a lot and it's time for you to rest.
Khalil, kudos to you, brother. I'm so glad you were able to use such a platform like that to talk about the issue of gun violence. I'm personally connected to the kids at Parkland and March for Our Lives, being there on the bus with them that whole first summer of 2018. So the issue is extremely close to me. My question here is that with this added attention, the ultimate goal that you set out was this unique 30 under 30 to highlight and to memorialize and to draw attention to the gun violence that is killing people, especially young people. Where is that movement, not just the magazine, but that list and the push there? I know the family and the parents over at Change the Ref, I know they're willing to, they've done so many different, I don't want to call them stunts, but just so many different acts of public disruption. What's the next steps there to continue to drive this awareness you're getting towards the actual issue?
Well, candidly, it all goes back to how can we get more people to see this? And I mean, this appearance is definitely one. I want to encourage anyone who's watching me right now to check out the magazine, which you can go see at 30under30.us. That's the number 30, UNDER30.us. They, after the Forbes presentation that I gave, the organizers actually bought out rented out a billboard on Times Square in order to project this and have people there see it. They posted that on social media. I believe there was a conference down in Florida with a lot of the family members of those who are in this magazine talking about the project. And because it was only announced a week ago, I mean, the embargo for journalists to even talk about it was after I gave my speech. So my speech was the first time that this project was announced publicly, and that was only about a week ago. So we're still in full force trying to make sure that people see this and make sure people realize that even though we're talking about gun violence as it relates to young people, so much of the media coverage has focused around school shootings, oftentimes in suburban communities. But within the magazine, you'll see so many stories of gun violence as it relates to gang violence and suicide, and just people being caught in the crossfires of senseless domestic violence. There's so many ways in which gun violence affects people. So the best thing that we can do, we can't just say there's one solution because it shows up in so many different ways. The best thing we could do right now is say, check out the stories. And within the magazine, there are also organizations and solutions that are laid out for all the different ways in which gun violence can affect someone.
What's the magazine again?
So it's 30 under 30.
Yeah, it's about what? Let's see, 30 under 30.us.
.us, yep. And it has the stories of
all right, folks. So go to my iPad, Anthony. So y'all see right there, 30 under 30.us. You see right there, and then all you have to do is just simply swipe, and then you can actually see all the stories in the magazine, 30 under 30.us. Greg Carr.
Thank you, Roland, and thank you, Brother Green. I'm excited to ask you the question I'm about to ask, given that you've had so many experiences. I mean, showing up in Yale to do computer science and then cycling through economics and political science and then finally landing in history. And congratulations on turning down a job at McKinsey, too, not joining the evil empire of consulting class so that you could build your own platform. And please forgive me, because I know you're the first Black person to be student body president at Yale College. So forgive me for evoking the specter of Harvard in this regard, although it might give you an opportunity to get a few gut punches in. You probably saw the article in the New York Times earlier this week where a faculty committee found that students at Harvard are skipping classes, they're failing to do the reading. So I think 60% of the grades at Harvard are Yale, are A, not Yale, or A, grade inflation is there, but that the classroom culture is being driven now by inattention, lack of focus, and really zeroing in on devices. As a thinker who has achieved a great deal of success in cyberspace and who is using digital media to raise awareness and to teach and to study, and as one who understands the challenges that young people have today as it relates to literacy, any thoughts on how we can get young people, and for that matter, everyone who has now got these devices in our hands, to really drill down and regain the discipline and the stamina to do deep study, particularly as it relates to reading?
That's also a great question, and it's a question that I seek to answer with the content that I put out, because obviously I make educational content. The effects and the consequences of the pandemic on learning and on people's attention span cannot be overstated, especially when it comes to students. The college students that you're seeing right now spent a full year of their K through 12 education just not in school, and at the same time probably using TikTok up to 12 hours per day. So that has a lasting effect on people's brain chemistry in a very literal sense. And it means that so many people are lacking the attention span now to then go into college and open up a huge book. There was not only the article that you mentioned, but a big one that came out earlier this year, I want to say in the Atlantic or the New Yorker, just saying that college kids can't read. And it's very unfortunate, but I don't think that the way to solve this problem is to go back to the traditional sort of trying to force people to remove their devices and open up a huge book. I just think the tides of technology and of human progress have gone beyond that. some people may see that very unfortunately. I do in some senses, and in other senses, I think there's an opportunity here. And I think the opportunity lies in making sure that we make education something that is attention grabbing. That was the point of my speech. I mean, the speech was 6 minutes, as you guys all saw. Thank you for playing the full thing. And on social media, it has over 1,500,000 views, with most of those people watching in full, or at least in a large part. And that's a speech of just me talking, of me telling a story, sharing some facts about gun violence, some stories about people who are victims of it, and directing people to a way that they can make change. And that's something that people don't necessarily associate with social media, right? You might think of just nonsense or dancing videos or fights, whatever you want to call it. But there's a growing class of people like me who are educational content creators. And I think that we're going to be the future, or at least a model for the future of education, and that education has to be entertaining. And it's maybe a sad thing for many, but it's the reality. So invest and support educational content creators, and that way you can disseminate information in a way that's more attention grabbing and that younger people will gravitate towards.
All right, then. Well, listen, Khalil, great job. Keep giving them hell, and we need more voices out there doing the work.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I super appreciate it. And once again, please, please, please go check out the magazine, because the stories in there are very eye-opening, and there's so many statistics that I would have never known without diving into it. And to your point, it's a great way of learning, and an engaging way, full of stories and full of ways that you can make an impact as an individual as well.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
All right, take care. Folks, we'll be right back. Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
This week on The Other Side of Change, we are talking about the government shutdown and how it's impacting our everyday lives, including our pocketbooks.
These motherfuckers are crazy as hell. They are willing to shut down the entire government, to force people to pay more in their health care, to subsidize tax breaks for the wealthiest people.
You're watching The Other Side of Change only on the Black Star Network.
Hey, I'm Tasha Cobbs, and you are watching Roland Martin Unfiltered. But I need a little filter. I need something. Blow me out. Make me look 35.
Well, Donald Trump has once attacked his enemies, and now he's gone after New York State Attorney General Letitia James. And remember, she's the one who got a conviction against the twice impeached criminally convicted thug-in-chief, and he's been so pissed off by that. And so he appointed an airhead to be U.S. attorney, because the previous one he fired because he wouldn't prosecute this case in James Comey. And so as a result, they've now indicted her in Virginia. Tish James, she knew this was coming, so therefore she had a response for this thug.
This is nothing more than a continuation of the president's desperate weaponization of our justice system. He is forcing federal law enforcement agencies to do his bidding, all because I did my job as the New York State Attorney General. These charges are baseless, and the president's own public statements make clear that his only goal is political retribution at any cost. The president's actions are a grave violation of our constitutional order and have drawn sharp criticism from members of both parties. His decision to fire a United States attorney who refused to bring charges against me and replace them with someone who is blindly loyal not to the law, but to the president, is antithetical to the bedrock principles of our country. This is the time for leaders on both sides of the aisle to speak out against this blatant perversion of our system of justice. I stand strongly behind my office's litigation against the Trump Organization. We conducted a 2-year investigation based on the facts and evidence, not politics. Judges have upheld the trial court's finding that Donald Trump, his company, and his 2 sons are liable for fraud. I'm a proud woman of faith, and I know that faith and fear cannot share the same space. And so today, I'm not fearful. I'm fearless. And as my faith teaches me, no weapon formed against me shall prosper. We will fight these baseless charges aggressively, and my office will continue to fiercely protect New Yorkers and their rights. And I will continue to do my job.
No shock. This happened today. New York Times has a story talking about all the black people who Donald Trump has been going after. Nola, listen, he don't like black folks. The folks he's been firing left and right are black folks. And so it's no shock he's going after Tish James because she held him accountable. As she said, they've affirmed his conviction. And that's what that thug, that convicted felon cannot stand.
Absolutely. You know, it's the audacity of how dare you challenge this rich white man, and then you humiliate him, and you actually win. And it has nothing to do with the fact that he violated the law. It's just all about how dare you, black person, especially black woman. And, you know, this isn't anything that we are talking about that isn't already out there for people to see in plain sight. Even before we got here, he was showing us what he was going to do, especially in terms of, you know, how he was going to retaliate with Fani Willis. You know, the list can go on. So where we are right now, it's not a shock to anyone that's here tonight. But here is my concern. My concern is this. While we knew this was coming, none of this is a shock. What is going to be done about it to protect us from his perceived slights or his retribution campaigns, you know, all the things? This is exhausting, Roland, and it's creeping into different parts of everyday life and how Black people are being treated. People think that because they have permission from the top, that they can talk to us any kind of way, they can dismiss us because Donald Trump does it. So my concern is this, and my question is, I guess, hypothetical. What is to be done about this? I thought we were protected minority. This is definitely Greg's territory, but
no, we ain't no protected minority. We ain't no protected minority. Listen.
Greg knows what I mean.
We all saw this, but we all saw this coming. Listen, I'm gonna use a sports analogy, and again, I'm gonna go back to what Barry Switzer once said. He said, if we run the wishbone the way we are supposed to run the wishbone, there is nothing you can do to stop it. He said nothing. Vince Lombardi, the sweep, Vince Lombardi could teach the sweep for 8 straight hours. And the Green Bay Packers ran that sweep every single time. And you know what? You couldn't stop it. This man showed us his evil for 4 years. Mm-hmm. Then he announced, this is what I'm gonna do, and bring my evil back. People said, cool, we liked it evil. Now he gets in. They gave us a $1,000 evil playbook. Again, I'm gonna stick with sports. That's the equivalent of Barry Switzer saying, here, I'm giving y'all the playbook. Not the week before the game. They started Project 2025. Jonathan Swan, or Swain, whatever, with Axios, wrote a story in 2021. Mm-hmm. We did it on this show. In 2020, New York Times did a story. So they told us, they handed us the playbook. 3 years, we gonna do all of this. And folks said, yeah, okay, we good. Come on back, Donald. So Greg, nobody should be shocked what we're seeing happen because they literally said it. The Supreme Court gave him a further green light by basically saying, you got immunity. You can do whatever the hell. He wasn't even in the Oval Office. The case they ruled on wasn't even a case that dealt with his actions in office. They said, hey, man, you got blanket immunity. And he went, oh, shit. Oh, I'm good. And they said, oh, we about to run the fucking table. Oh, we about to do, we going at, he said, I'm going after your ass. I'm going after your ass. I'm going after your ass. I'm firing y'all. I'm doing tariffs. We don't give a shit. We gonna disobey your orders. We don't give a damn. He gets in, I don't give a damn. If you a federal judge and you rule against us, we gonna ignore you. They say it. All of this, Greg, all of it. Ain't nothing a shock with what they doing.
Well, yeah, I would agree. What do you always say? What did you say, LaTosha, tonight, Roland? When we vote our numbers, we win. Let's continue that analogy. All of it true. And what happens when the people you gave the playbook to, the people you keep running these winning plays against, you drugged them, you disoriented them? I have to disagree with my brother Khalil. Hopefully he'll come to see it, because I suspect the same problem at Harvard is at Yale, students not reading and going to class. I understand using the technology. I embrace using the technology, but nothing, absolutely nothing will ever replace the power of slow accretive study. I'm sorry. But that having been said, after all, he did go to Yale. He didn't go to TikTok University. But the point is that what happens if you give that playbook to people you have, to use Nation of Islam language, hoodwinked, bamboozled, run amok, led astray, then you're not really fighting an opponent that is at full strength. You're giving the playbook to an opponent who is disoriented and weakened, plus we consuming whatever garbage they feeding us. Now, what would happen if you gave that same playbook, using your observation that when we vote, we win, when we organize, we win, and LaTosha said the same thing in clip. What happens if you give that same playbook to your opponent who is at full strength? Well, at that point, we don't even want to see your plays, because we're going to roll over you like sea. And I think, you know what I'm saying? So they are under the illusion that they have strength. And in fact, let me take that back, Roland. And they're not under that illusion anymore. That's why you see Bozo surrounded by his sycophants like he did today, saying, we're bringing back Columbus Day, it's back. And they all start clapping. And little Marco, who has embarrassed himself, the cock rooster, Pete Hegseth, the little runt rooster, DEI hire, they are scared now because they're realizing that the medicine and the drugging that they've been giving us over this last couple of generations is wearing off. And so as a result, there's no play they can run that can defeat us. And this Tis James example is another example. Comey is getting ready to eat their lunch.
Yep.
Comey's going to eat their lunch. And so is she. And I read the complaint. I see what they did, little hoodwink thing about mortgage fraud and bank fraud. First of all, and you probably saw this article, Roland, it was in Newsweek. Nick Ackerman, who is a former Watergate attorney, and it was Mandy Tahiri writing, she told Newsweek earlier this week, before the Comey arrangement, that Lindsay Halligan may be playing a very dangerous game with regard to her law license.
Yep.
This former insurance lawyer who is one of Donald Trump's spokesmodels. I'll keep the blue language. I mean, there's another word I would think that may begin with an H and end with an S, a four-letter word, HOES. How many? That's 4 letters. Anyway, one of his spokesmodel lawyers, he likes them, but she playing with her law license by filing cases that have no legal basis to be filed. With regard to Tis James, when you look at this indictment,
yeah, here's the article you're talking about,
what you see is,
it's right here.
Yes, sir. There it is, right there. There it is. She could lose her law license. See, they playing nasty games here.
And see,
so thank you, Roland. I know
they so stupid. Guess who lost his law license? Rudy Giuliani. Sidney Powell.
No question.
It's a whole bunch of folks who were defending Trump with them lies in 2020. They ain't got no law license today. So you a dumbass for running behind his ass. And guess what? He can't pardon you. He can't pardon you to keep your license.
No question. And you saw what happened earlier in the week when Stephen Miller got so hyped up on his own juice that he out there saying, and the president has plenary powers. And then you saw somebody over the camera like, and so, Stephen, yeah. See, you got loose nuts running around thinking they got a better team than they have. But remember, Roland, you remember this. Remember when Bear Bryant and the University of Alabama played Southern California, and Randall Cunningham's brother, Sam Bam Cunningham, ran all over their segregated asses, and Bear Bryant was like, shit. Bear Bryant sent for Sam Cunningham, the black running back at USC, and Cunningham writes about this. Sam Cunningham, Randall Cunningham's brother, brings him to the Alabama football locker and says to him in front of all these white players, this is what a football player looks like. And now you go to the University of Alabama and they got a team of black people and they act as if somehow they were a superior team then and now. No, we weren't playing at strength. When you bring us in, we beat you. Now, when it comes to Tish James, it's not at all clear the details of this. Was she getting this second house for her niece? That's what it looks like it might have been. But what is clear is this. You have someone in her office, in the attorney office in Virginia, the federal attorney's office, who prepared a report for Halligan, and she was preparing to share this report with Halligan. There's been all this turmoil to say there's no probable cause. Her name was Elizabeth Usey. Elizabeth Usey had determined there's no probable cause.
Right.
Then, you remember Eric Siebert, who was Halligan's predecessor, was removed because he would not bring charges against Comey and James. Maya Song, who was one of his top deputies, was also fired.
No lying prosecutor would put their name on this. She had to do it.
Not gonna touch it.
No U.S. attorney goes into court, goes before a grand jury presenting the case themselves. They were like, nah, baby, we ain't touching this. This on you.
We ain't touching this.
It's on you.
And you about to lose your license. And so finally, I'll say this, and I hear where you were going, Nola, and I appreciate this. That discrete and insular minorities language we use, that protected class language, comes from a footnote in the famous Caroline Products case in the 1930s, where they say these are the protected classes. It was an afterthought, really, from the court, from the Supreme Court. But I say it in the context of this, and this is what I was asking LaTosha. It is at moments like this in American history that black people get super creative and explode this thing. I'm saying now it's time for us to go back to what we maybe veered away from in the 1950s and 60s. We put all our legal battles in the basket of equal protection, all our in the area of there's a norm that we're trying to become a part of, when in fact there is a case to be made that what white people are doing now is trying to create themselves as a protected class. It's a novel legal theory, but if we begin pursuing that, particularly as the demographics change, I'm telling y'all, the federal Constitution, what did Malcolm X say? There's no new law. In other words, the 14th Amendment is there. The 15th Amendment is there. What has changed over the years is how judges interpret that law. I'm telling y'all, it's time for us to now create a new heroic age, revive ourselves, and go after these white boys the way we need to fight them. And I think the argument to be made, whether it wins now or ultimately it will win in the long term, white people are trying to create themselves as a protected class, and there is no constitutional defense for whiteness as a protected class. Now they're gonna bat it down in the short term, but buddy, I'm telling you, in the long term, we're gonna look back at this and say this is the moment when we saved ourselves. I don't know about America. I could give a damn about America, but this might be the moment when we finally realize that we just gonna have to have it out with these white boys. And I think at that point, they can run whatever play they want. We're going to roll over them like the sea.
And Cameron, that's why in 2009, when I saw it, I literally saw it, and I said point blank what we're facing. And I said, I'm standing at CNN. John Avlon and I are about to go on the air. He's now in Congress. I said, John, we are living right now in the beginning stages of white minority resistance. He was like, huh? I said, I'm telling you, John, it's right here. And on the show, in speeches, I was saying this in 2009, 2010, 2011, 2012, 2013, on and on and on. Wrote the book in 2020, dropped it in 2022. And I kept telling people, because what we are seeing, you got white folks, certain white folks in this country, they are angry about, again, Civil Rights Act of 64, Voting Rights Act of 65, Fair Housing Act of 68. They're angry about that. They were pissed off with the third Reconstruction that came along with the death of George Floyd, because they were pissed off with these companies that were talking about 50, 60, 70, 100 billion dollars going to black interests. The Black Lives Matter movement was the first movement in American history where black people were centered, that a majority of Americans agreed with. These white folks said, oh, hell no, we can't have this. You had these white kids who were learning the real history, not that history crap. So they said, no, we got to take the books out. No, we can't have Toni Morrison. We can't have Ta-Nehisi Coates. We can't have Lerone Bennett. We can't have all these other books now in these libraries. No. So what do? Went after the books. What did they do? They attacked Black Lives Matter. In 2021, attacked them viciously. 2022, it was critical race theory, which if you didn't go to law school, you didn't know what the hell that was, but they understood. And Christopher Rufo literally put it in a tweet. We want to group everything that's black under the CRT banner. It don't even matter. 2023, it was woke. 2024, it was DEI. Because what their whole deal is about, oh no, we're losing out. We're losing things in this country. That's all they're doing. And so what Greg is laying out is absolutely right. What they are trying to say is, woe is, they're using the 1866 Civil Rights Act, filing lawsuits saying these things are discriminatory against white people. That's literally what Ed Blum is doing, saying, oh, this discriminates against us. 2 white boys in Indiana sued the federal DBE program, saying the federal DBE program is discriminatory against us. Black people get less than 2% of all federal contracts. How in the hell is it discriminatory against y'all? It's a $37 billion program, but the total federal government spend is $700 billion. So their whole deal is, no. We don't need, and of the $37 billion, 78% of the $37 billion go to white women. So non-white people only are receiving 22% of the $37 billion. These white folks like, we want it all. And to Greg's point, they're trying to say, oh, we are now discriminated against. We are now being harmed. We are now being hurt.
You're right on point, Roland. I think the thing that we have to realize is that with Letitia James, with so many of these other folks that are across the agencies that are being taken out, we've seen the 300,000 plus black women who've lost their jobs. They are trying to, and everything that they're doing is getting challenged in court. I would say some of them are winning, some of them are losing. It doesn't matter. This is an all-out, to use your sports analogy, this is an all-out blitz, followed by an all-out blitz, followed by an all-out blitz, followed by an all-out blitz and a sack. To the point that what the courts may uphold, there might be a few of those things, but we don't. It's the first front line. It's not the retraction. It's not the apology. They don't care about that. They're throwing as many things at the wall, and it's been said by so many people. To your point, the Stephen Millers of the world, Trump, like you said, Trump gave us the playbook. He spent 4 years on TV, social media, everywhere he could to say, hey, I'm coming after these people. He's like, hey, I'm turning my Justice Department into a vendetta department. Made it hyper clear until you made it also the good point that all those lawyers that are worth their weight that understand, hey, I need to have a job whenever this Trump stuff is over, so I can't lose my law license. I'm not about to put my name on this. All right, gone, you're fired. All right, anybody who's just, hey, I might have made a promise to Donald Trump. Maybe they think this is how they gain favor. This is how they think they're getting part of his multi-billion-dollar scheme to rip off America. And maybe I'll get a few dollars off of that. I'll put my name on something like this. But they're coming for our top people.
And then that's why he went after the law firms. He said, I'm going to attack your money. See, that's what people don't understand. This is what it drives me crazy, Greg, people don't get. There's only one federal agency that shares a lawn with the White House. Y'all, one. Treasury. Y'all need to understand. The White House, power. Treasury, money. Power, money, power. So Donald Trump knew, this is how I can bring all of my perceived enemies to their knees. to make them bend over, to make them blow me, to make them kiss my ass, lick my toes, kiss my ring. I'm gonna go after your money. So what did he do with the law firms? I'm taking your security clearance. Oh, now you can't represent these clients. Now you can't represent these cases. Y'all, do y'all understand if you're in a law firm, you know what the most important thing? Not one client, not somebody paying who's trying, no.
Billable hours.
It's those, no, not even billable hours.
It's the access.
It's the retainer fees. It's, every month we're getting 100,000, 200,000, 500,000, the retainer fees. So Donald Trump said, I'm gonna attack the money. So all of those law firms said, oh shit, okay, we'll cut a deal. He's like, oh no, part of the deal is you're gonna have to defend my interests. Okay, small firms are the ones that fought back. Major law firms, they bent the knee. So then he said, okay, Columbia, Harvard, I'm going after your research money. I'm gonna sit here, oh, okay, Harvard, it's cool. Y'all can't exist without international students. I'm gonna stop them from coming. Yeah, that's why the schools are. So now, what did Gavin Newsom say? Gavin Newsom said point blank. He said, I dare. He said, I dare. He said, I dare a California school buckle. He said, you think you're gonna lose federal funding? You can't exist without state funding. I dare you to buckle. So he went after the schools. That's what he's doing. So he understood, this is what these evil people understood. Greg, they understood America is a capitalistic system. And people can claim they love freedom. They can claim they love their guns. They can claim they love freedom of speech. But ain't nothing Americans, especially white Americans, care more about than money. And right now, there are progressive billionaires who are scared. Bezos got FU money. The owners of Google, FU money. Zuckerberg, FU money. But Trump said, I can go after your money. So Bezos, I could sit here and lean on the Postal Service and jack up the fees. So guess what then happens? Guess what then happens, Jeff? When you send one of these packages, I'm gonna triple, quadruple the price. I'm gonna mess with your stock price. All of them. So he went after the money. And that's how he got them to bend the knee. Because America, it's about the money, Greg.
You're right, Roland. I think, and I wish Nola would weigh in on this.
Yeah, she got to go. So, Greg, make your point. We'll make a last point. She claimed that she's gonna fit some gumbo, but we'll.
My bad. But then I'm gonna hurry up. The United States is in the world, and the global economy, whether it be Temu, whether it be Amazon, ain't the only game in the world, and they want to be globally dominant. I think. In the short term, they thought there were still some guardrails and there were still some norms, so they were willing to go along. But as this thing has unfolded, and it's clear, two things are clear. First of all, Trump is mentally unwell, and who knows how long he's going to even be alive. So, I mean, there's that. And then all the forces that putting the batteries in his back, you got a full-bred racist and fascist in terms of Steve Miller and Steve Bannon and them. Then you got Musk and them boys and Peter Thiel and their hand-picked Manchurian candidate, Junior Varsity Vance, who's chomping to get in the chair. They got their own interests. It's falling apart. It's unsustainable. The more desperate they get, the more the money people are like, whoa, especially since the world is now working on workarounds. Scheinbaum in Mexico, Canada making deals with the EU, Brazil emerging as a market for soybeans, even as they just sent $20 billion because Besant got a friend down there who put all this money in the Argentinian economy, and now they're going to repurpose that money, and then Mississippi and Midwest farmers got to eat them damn soybeans. The money boys now are realizing, wait, they're getting ready to destabilize the entire global market. So as a result, things are beginning to loosen up. If they've struck a deal in Israel, it ain't got nothing to do with the Palestinians. It ain't got nothing to do with immoral. The money boys, remember Jared Kushner showed up in Cairo earlier this week. The money boys are like, this is terrible for business. And BB, we back you because you got us by the genitals. But right now, you are a pariah state and you about to mess with our money because the Saudis are in here now. Qatar is in here now. Qatar done gave this fool a plane and basically bought the presidency of the United States. The money is cooling to the idea of domestic U.S. nativism. And as a result, I think there's an opening here for us perhaps to make some advancement to pull this maniac back from the brink. But I do think you're right about the money boys. I just think that that's a conversation that has to be had in a global context, not just the four corners of the United States.
And the reality, Nola, what the reason America's had so strong in the foreign policy area is because of the money. But when Nola, when all of a sudden, when you cause other countries to start saying, we gonna bypass y'all, and y'all are actually dependent, your $30 trillion U.S. economy is actually dependent upon our spending as well, and then we can bypass y'all, oh yeah, the crying will commence. Nola, go ahead and make your comment before you gotta go.
Absolutely. And let me just be very clear about this. I just had a Kamala Harris moment. Let me be clear. You know, the rest of the world was already kind of cooling on us to begin with. I'll give you an example. You know, the way that China does business is through development. The way we do business is through security. And there is a case with Niger. We had a security cooperation agreement with them, and they did not like the way that we were doing business. So they told us peace. They say, y'all just coming in here acting just like the French colonizers. Why should we continue to do business with you? So my point is this. Before we got to where we are now, to where, you know, at least 3 toes are in hell, you know, the waters were already cooling towards U.S. everything, right? Our partners and allies were already kind of like side-eyeing us, yes, working with us on things like Ukraine and other projects, but Europe was already talking about its own security for quite some time. What the Trump administration in these, 10 months has done has just escalated that conversation, because people are starting to look around the world. They're looking at different stock markets. You know, they're looking at their bank statements. They're looking at the fact that the U.S. dollar is weakening. Let me say that again. The U.S. dollar is weakening. I remember as a very, 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 very young undergrad where everyone was worried because, you know, the EU had its own currency, and they were proclaiming that the EU was our enemy because they wanted to replace the American dollar. Well, here we are, America, we're doing it ourselves. We're doing it to our own currency, right? We are devaluing everything. And so I had a conversation recently, this is the last thing I'll say before I got to go and not cook gumbo, Roland, is I was having a conversation with an ambassador recently, and she said, the question she keeps going to is this: what is the end goal? Like, you know, they came in saying they wanted to affect all this change, all the BS that they said, all the things, right? But everything is an absolute disaster. They do not know how to govern. We've been saying that. We warned people about that. What is the end goal in all of this chaos? Where are we going with this by completely destroying our reputation around the world?
No, but that is the end goal. That's the end goal. What the end goal is? The end goal is to completely destroy so many facets of the government that they lose in 2028. You can't even put things back in 4 years. So that's the whole design. Listen, these Silicon Valley boys, they want no regulation. So their whole deal is, we want to destroy as much as we can. So essentially, what they want to do to America is what BB did to Gaza. I'm going to blow everything up. And then y'all figure out what y'all going to do afterwards, because that's what they want. To Greg's point, go to my iPad. Big investors await windfall from Trump's Argentina bailout. Where are all the conservatives who said, stop spending money on foreign governments? It's amazing how quiet they are. That's $20 billion. So that's all. We know what this game is. But the bottom line is this here. What we have to do, and again, what LaTosha say, the way you stop this evil, you can actually vote them out. You can be Elon Musk, and you can have 45 billion, whatever. You can own Twitter. You can do whatever. But guess what? You only get one vote. We can throw these assholes out. We can actually disrupt the system. We can shut all that down. Not gonna do it if we stay on that couch. Nola, I appreciate it. Greg, I appreciate it. Cameron, I appreciate you on the show as well. Y'all, listen. I'm trying to tell y'all, as we were sitting there doing the show, if y'all think I'm lying, Anthony, you can go to a wide shot. I told y'all, a bunch of people sent us checks. I'm literally sitting here. Come on, go to a wide shot. Come on. I'm sitting here literally, y'all, as we are talking, utilizing the mobile app to deposit these checks. I have to open every envelope. I got to sign the back of them, and I got to see him do that. I've got probably another 30 or so that I have to do. So your support of our show is critical. Listen, I got checks in my hand ranging from $5 all the way to $300, and we appreciate every single donor, no matter how much you give. Y'all, mass media is critically important. Okay, mass media, the ability for us. We had more than 5,000 people watching live tonight. Okay, more than 5,000 people. We're gonna have more. We're gonna restream this show, thousands more watching. Do understand how you use mass media, because you're talking to the masses. This is about us being able to own and control the system, the flow of information. That's what we have to do, and that's what's so important. So I need folk to understand, we got to support our black institutions, because the reality is, ain't nobody gonna be there for us but us. So if you want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered, the Black Star Network, we want to hit our goal. Stripe, use the Cash App, use the Stripe QR code. You see it right here. That's for credit cards as well. PayPal, R Martin Unfiltered, Venmo, RM Unfiltered, Zelle. Roland at RolandSMartin.com, Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Checks and money order, make it payable to Roland Martin Unfiltered, P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C., 2003 7-0196. Download the Black Star Network app, Apple phone, Android phone, Apple TV, Android TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Xbox One, Samsung Smart TV. Be sure to get a copy of my book, White Fear, How the Browning of America is Making White Folks Lose Their Minds. Get the audio version on Audible, folks. Also, get our Black Star Network, Roland Martin Unfiltered swag. Go to shopblackstarnetwork.com for our t-shirts, hats, mugs, and more. You see a QR code there as well. Also, all these black-owned products you see to my left, these products are all available on our site. We've got sauces and relishes. We've got toilet paper. We've got gym wraps. We've got HBCU shirts and book bags and black crossword puzzles and a car washing solution, skincare products. Man, we got artwork, all this sort of stuff. And so support these black-owned companies by going to shopblackstarnetwork.com, shopblackstarnetwork.com. Last night, I had the Investathon for Fanbase. They've already raised $13.3 million. The goal is now to get to $17 million. If you want to support Fanbase, first of all, download the app, Fanbase. And if you want to invest, go to startengine.com/Fanbase. Folks, that's it. I'll see y'all tomorrow right here, Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.